You can imagine why not. Can't you, Dr. Stein?
What's up, guys? Michael DeWilde here. Today we are going to get into Premiere. I was hired as a director for a trailer called The Vestige.
I am Olivia Croft, and like most, I had hopes, dreams, and fears.
Dr. Stein?
The Vestige is a book written by Monique Gliozzi, amazing author who has multiple books. And we were hired as the director to kind of facilitate the project and film a bunch of stuff. And then we were going to hand the footage off for a producer and editor to finish the project up.
Visitations had begun to haunt me in my sleep. I could see, hear, smell, and feel them.
But we had such a fun time, we had to make a director's cut. So this is behind the scenes, what I did to make the Vestige director's cut trailer. Let's get into it. Boom! All right, so first things first, we have a bunch of raw footage. I'll just show you some. All right, rolling. Camera one rolling.
I'll roll on this.
Okay.
All right, so this is at a studio in Pittsburgh called The Factory 925. Now I want you to recognize these glares on the whiteboard here because we get rid of them. Let's check some more stuff.
Camera rolling.
This is a newspaper that was printed by the Brentwood Press, now known as The Press. Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson. Made us a mock paper for our project. Check it out. Let's see. It's not as daughter of prominent New York judge faces tragic death. So that's still at the studio.
All right.
Audio
rolling.
Studio still. That is at the home.
Okay.
What's up?
Camera rolling.
Perfect. So this is some of the raw footage, right?
Camera rolling.
Now let's get into the project itself. It is a combination of stock photography, stock video, and a bunch of the live stuff that we did, right? So we open up with a scene of a cloaked woman walking through a forest. What I want you to see here is this is a black color mat that we masked over her hand. So if you see here, her hand was just all I could focus on. So once she enters the scene, the hand is just what my eyes were drawn to first, and I didn't like that. So what I did is I created a black color mat, and I masked her hand out with a path over time. Come on. Mask. And so it kind of just follows her hand and hides her hand. Then we go to our next shot, which is her again, the cloaked figure. Okay, this is a cool one. So this one, we desaturated and reduced the exposure. So we reduced the saturation by 30 and reduced the exposure by 1. And we reduced its speed. So this is at 30% speed. And then here we have it at 60% speed. And we actually increase the saturation and exposure over time. So if you see here, it gets all nice, bright, and blue. And again, if we zoom in here, we're going to show you this guy's ugly mug. So we have this weird, strange mask that is displayed. Okay, hold on. We got to turn off our color grading. So if you see this ugly mask up here, it just looks so tacky, and that is not what we are going for. So what we did to combat this is we color graded it, which really essentially handled the problem itself. So if you look at the color grading, now you can barely see it. But we also, in addition, added a color mat, black color mat, and masked over the area as well. And so that positions with the face over time. Wherever it moves, it kind of goes with it. So if you see here, there you go. Perfect. So that is another little trick that we did. Let's keep going. Now here we have a clock. And so if you listen to the audio, we have a lot of ticks and what appears to be, or sounds to be, clock sounds. All right, and so with this clock footage, we actually start zoomed in. So if you see here, we're at 130% scale, 130.5, and then we zoom out over time. And then here we reverse and then go forward, reverse, go forward, reverse and forward, and get this nice little subtle glitch. That kind of goes with the timing of the ticks. Another stock footage shot. And then here, this is a cool one. So here we're at 50. This is a scene of some cars in the street. I believe, we're going for New York. So we wanted to try and encapsulate that with some of this stock footage. So we have 50% speed here. And then as it zooms out, we speed it up to 1,120%. So just really sped up the cars and kind of gives you this increased dramatization. And I'm not showing you the sound for now. We'll go into the sound design next. Okay, so now we have a horizontal roof with a girl walking on the edge. This is essentially some foreshadowing, right? Not the wisest thing to walk on the edge of a high-rise building. Can't say that there is not like more roof on the other side. We really don't know, but that was the purpose of this. The story is about a young girl who used to go see a therapist. Now here, just stock footage, high-rise building, and then another clip of the girl walking on the edge. But this one, we went with the vertical view. And in the vertical view, if you see, once we have a gradient fade back to the buildings, then essentially her shadow is cast on the left side of the building, and the real person of her, not her shadow, is on the right side of the building. I just thought it was a good look rather than the horizontal. The horizontal is perfect for here, and then we spice it up by just changing its orientation right here. Boom. And we are zooming in to our high-rise building, and we meet our doctor, Dr. Stein. Now, Dr. Stein is sitting at his desk with our mock newspaper that we had made. And, we're in it. So this shot was a little shaky. We did a warp stabilizer to try and stabilize its shake. And you could see the stabilization. It wasn't the best, but whatever. Most people wouldn't recognize it. Editors will eat you alive for it. And then we meet young Olivia. So the girl on the newspaper, this is her in her younger years, meeting with this psychiatrist or counselor, Dr. Stein. Then we have a flash into a different scene or setting. And with this here, what we did is added 3 layers of smoke. And we color grade the snot out of this shot. So we changed the temperature and tint and the saturation. And I believe, what else did we do? We did some other stuff too. Oh, I manually kicked up my shutter at the camera and created that increase in the light, right? And then we also took this shot and we increased the speed. What did we do? We increased the speed. Hold on, let me zoom in. Speed and duration, so 569.56. No particular reason why we chose that number. It was just, I just sped it up and it looked good. And this little Olivia here is actually, let me put the smoke back. Now you see the smoke. And so essentially she was just being antsy at the door. And so she's moving around like waiting for our cue. Action! And I was just setting the camera, and this was like the perfect shot to use rather than them standing still there. And so it creates the dramatization and kind of shows that something eerie might be going on with young Olivia here. Okay. One more time. Whoa! All right, so bright whiteboard. So here, what we did, remember the whiteboard. So essentially, we have glares here. So what I did is I screenshot this in Photoshop. It's a fairly still shot, so it works. If you have a motion shot, it'd be much more difficult. So here I went into Photoshop and I created a whiteboard. Let's show you that by itself. So that's what it looks like. I went into Photoshop and I doctored that whiteboard up with the same coloring so that you couldn't see those glares, because that's not okay. Those glares were not okay. So here we are with the fixed whiteboard, and then we zoom in over time, and then we are introduced to our older actress, which is Olivia, as an adult. And I'm going to turn some of the audio on for a sec. Let's see what we got going.
I had hopes, dreams, and
Oh, so we got a knock on the door.
fears.
Dr. Stein?
Oh, and we got a glitch. All right, so let's, and for some reason, these are not the way they are finalized in export. So upon reopening this project, these adjustment layers have been changed. So here, what we do to create more dramatization and to show something eerie is going on with our oldest Olivia, we went into Photoshop and edited a photo that looked like this. And so what we did is did an adjustment layer of some different things like tint changes, embossing directionals, and same thing here, just different. And then down here, an adjustment layer of offsets and mirrors left and right, alpha adjust and transforms, and then the photo. And so we do a nice simple gradient, glitch to gradient into the photo, glitch to gradient out, right back to her normal self. All right, so that was that. Let's push forward, and then we have some stock clocks, and there are cuts here so that the alignment of the tick matches. So now if you see here, and then again, the editing just goes with the ticks, right? This we actually had, the producer had made on Amazon. Olivia is her name, so we had a personalized journal made for her. And we have Dr.
I was aware
Stein with young Olivia, and they used to play Scrabble together. This is kind of a resounding thing throughout the story, is Scrabble. Notice that she is spelling. What is she spelling? What's she going to spell? More foreshadowing. Come on, guys. And then we are into Olivia as a younger girl, experiencing something. And again, so here, glitch to slow gradient into photo edit, and then back into normal Olivia. And these are just dramatization factors. Like something else is going on, except aside from what we visually see in the normal realm, right?
the company of something
Something's going on. And then again, we have another
sinister.
shot here. And then we have Dr. Stein in his home reviewing Olivia Croft's journal again. And we just go with the ticks again.
And fear that it could possibly attach itself to one of us. This time.
Okay, so here I want you to see his eyes do turn black. And, you know, typically you would mask, first off, it's like 3 seconds of time at most. And really, his eyes close at the end. So it's like a fraction of a second. So what I did here is I went into Photoshop and I masked his eyes. And so these different shots are the different blacks over his eyes. And so here he is. And the sound isn't in here, right? So all of the sound effects are in here. We'll get into the sound design next. Now here, more ominous footage. And then we have older Olivia, kind of matching the younger Olivia shot, but the polar opposite. So remember the shot with Olivia in the hallway with her the bright light and then the 3 layers of fog, and I sped it up to 569. She's like shaking, right? And so this is the polar opposite shot, her as an adult, and instead of it being entirely lit, it's entirely dark. So that's kind of what we're going for here. And here's our cloaked woman creating dramatization. We'll let it play for a sec. And so this is Dr. Stein at his home. Now this is a particular shot that should be emphasized. What we did here is we had a aperture 600D light placed in the hallway, and upon cue they flashed the light. And so here we have Dr. Stein, and Dr. Stein and his home are becoming affected by what's transpired with his client Olivia. Now his son is in his room hovering over him, and we just had him in the doorway and the light behind him, and it created that nice silhouette. And here we have, that here. So more dramatization. And we have to say, Dr. Stein, our actor here, actually fell asleep during this shot. And now we have Dr. Stein in his kitchen the following morning, and the sun comes up, and Dr. Stein's just not acting like himself. So I'll show you some of this. Right. And notice the motions, like he moves forward in frame, then he moves out frame, and then we're at a close-up again where he's in frame. So it has this nice motion where he's like back and forth and back and forth, and then he's just acting strange. And I think it's portrayed by his body. Cut an orange. And then here we have, and you'll hear all the sound effects in a second. Now here we have him pouring the juice, and in the juice, or in the shot of this juice, we increase its scale and position over time. Boom, boom, boom. And that aligns, the reason we do this is it aligns perfectly with the clouds of this sky. And I just thought the oranges went well together, but I also thought this was a fairly tacky shot, or a fairly tacky editing transition, or all the above. I just wasn't super fond of it, but I also thought it was kind of cool. But I have to undoubtedly tell you that I was not hella happy with this. But everyone loved it. Whenever I heard something from people, they always happen to talk about this transition. So that's cool. I did enjoy knowing in the end that other people recognized it as something cool. Sun goes perfectly into the clouds, and what's happening right now? The sun is setting. What happens when the sun sets? It gets dark. Okay? Creating more dramatization. Now on this particular shot, we have a couple things going on. We have an adjustment layer and something called turbulence displace. So the turbulence displace is here, and we have an additional one above her finger here. Where is it at? So we have one here by her finger and one there by her finger. And if you really pay attention, it ends up warping the wood. And you can't really tell yet, but it's just enough that if you have good vision and you are paying attention, you'd recognize it. Then we go black for a second. We have this little scary skull pop through. So we fade to black, have the scary skull pop through. And then more dramatization where Dr. Stein's son is in their dining room and grabs Olivia's journal. So you see the turbulence displace. And we did jump cuts there and then a little bit of a glitch. Just, you guys know, for dramatization. And this we did a horizontal glitch of the same shots. So it's the same stuff, it's just went horizontal and stretched it. Okay, and then back to the hand on the tree. Now, we brought this in again so that we could emphasize that turbulence displace even more. And if you see here, see the mask of turbulence displace, and you'll see this tree almost as if it's like she has powers. And so she's dragging her hand along this tree, and it warps the tree. So we'll watch this a couple times. You see it? Yeah, I see it. First shot is subtle. Second shot, not so much. All right. And then I don't want you to hear the voiceover yet. So we have Olivia here, older Olivia, and she's talking to the doctor, talking to the camera. And something's going to happen. And we go into almost like one of the most riveting shots of the trailer. And this one, I'm going to need to open After Effects. Now, in this particular shot, so we have black, like a black fog. And what did we do? We did a solid black layer, and then we masked around her face. So there is a face right here. So we did a feather expansion of 317, mask expansion of -134. And that just masks around her face perfectly. And then we cut it. And I believe we cut every 5 frames. So if you press shift and down, it goes 5 frames. So yeah, shift and down arrow, it goes 5 frames at a time. And so what we did is just cut every 5 frames so that it masks around her face and then disappears, and masks around her face and disappears. And it created a very nice dramatization to the shot. Now let's get into After Effects, and we're going to show you what we did here. So what we did is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, the null. So what we did is we took cracks, concrete cracks, I believe, or black cracks of some sort, and we pinned them to her face. You can see up here it's happening over time. And then she's screaming. So there's one on the left, and then we have the top right. So we have here and here. And so we did this with a bunch of cracks. And I think that really about does it. And we pinned it, right? And then moved them. So if you really look into the tracking of this all, so I masked a portion of the crack, which is this pink area that was going into her mouth, and then transformed its position over time. Actually, I don't think I moved that one. I think that's pretty stationary. But on a lot of them, I believe I moved them. So this one we masked outside of her cheek. Yep. And so essentially that's what's going on there with that shot. And each one of those has a mask. The middle of the lips right here, the cheek right here, probably somewhere around the ear. So that is this next shot. And get back into it. So that goes here. That's what's happening here. And then we're back into the dining room, and things are becoming more and more crazy. And we're back in the dining room. You have to realize that, please remember, these 4 spot disperses were not here, but since we've reloaded it, it's showing these. And these, I cut those out. So right here too, you'll see it. And I cut those out. So just ignore them because they're not in the final edit. And again, in all these, we went into Photoshop and created these photos. And then just did the, the adjustment layer edits with a quick gradient fade into the shot and back into reality. Just displaying those the darkness and what's going on and creating, creating more dramatization. That's like a resounding statement right now. Dramatization. All right, what do we got here? So this one is, we're almost done. So this one we took a ton of Dr. Stein, 5 in total, and we masked over his face. And we're just displaying the chaos that this man is clearly feeling in his head. So here's one, masked his face. Here's another, masked his face, and position them all in like a flowering effect over time, displaying the insanity and mental instability that he's experiencing. He's just all over the place, right? And then here, we go back and just lots of the glitches and those photo edits that we've been talking about. So if you see over here, I can show you real quick. Like, there's one. Here's another. Right? So that was the replacement of the first photo. Here's table 3 where he's here, and then here's the replacement. Boom. And so we just did quick photo edits in Photoshop and did the nice, simple gradient fades with glitches. And this continues to happen, creating hella drama. And this is our last and final shot. We purchased this hourglass at Home Goods. Oh, no. What's the other one? It's closed on Sundays. It's like a big craft store. Hobby Lobby. Thank you, Michael. Good job. So here's the last shot. And we end with the Scrabble board and Vestige being spelt on it. And we are done. So that is our walkthrough in Premiere of the footage and a lot of the editing stuff. All right. I'm going to end this video. I hope you enjoyed this. And what we're going to do on the next one is get into the audio design. We'll be back. Talk to you soon.
One thing I figured out is that when we are born, our destiny is already mapped out for us by a higher power. I am Olivia Croft, and like most, I had hopes, dreams, and fears.
Dr. Stein?
I was aware that we were in the company of something sinister, and feared that it could possibly attach itself to one of us. This time it was my way of taking control of the uninvited. The visitations had begun to haunt me in my sleep. I could see, hear, smell, and feel them. Not knowing what to expect from the other dimension. I am not afraid. You can imagine why not. Can't you, Dr. Stein?